Paul writes this, and here's the question. What's Paul's thorn in the flesh? Paul writes that there's this thorn in his flesh that keeps him from being conceited, that keeps him humble. A thorn in the flesh? Like what is it? Paul calls it a messenger from Satan. Notice it's not God who gives him the thorn, but Paul has it nonetheless. Now here's the deal. The answer to the question, what was Paul's thorn in the flesh? The answer is, as I've said for a number of these questions, I don't really know. You're welcome. Scholars don't know. Paul never tells us. Some people think that it was maybe a physical ailment or an illness, something that Paul couldn't see. In Galatians, he mentions that he can't see really well. Others thought maybe it was the fact that a large portion of Israel, the chosen people, did not acknowledge Jesus as Messiah, and that really that irked Paul. I wonder, I don't think it probably was, but I wonder if it wasn't like some kind of a sin that Paul or temptation that Paul couldn't get over. He just kept stumbling over. Whatever it was this weakness. And he pleads with God to take it away. He pleads with God 3 times, take it away. And God doesn't take it away. How many of you have ever pleaded with God to do something on your behalf? And God doesn't do it how you want it to be done? How many of you beg God for something, and God doesn't answer how you wanted God to answer? Paul pleads with God, and God tells him no. No. But then God gives him the most reassuring, steadying, healing, comforting word as a response. God tells Paul, I'm not going to take it away. Notice it didn't come from God. Paul calls it a messenger of Satan. It wasn't from God, but God said, I'm not going to take it away. But Paul, my grace is enough for you. It's enough. In your weaknesses, my power will be manifest. In fact, my power comes to perfection in your weaknesses. My grace will be enough. Enough simply means this: as much as is required. As much as is required. My grace will be enough for you. I will be enough for you. There's a saying that we have in these Christian circles: oh, God won't give you more than you can handle. Maybe you've heard this or even said it. This is not true. It's wrong. It's not even biblical. Life oftentimes gives us way more than we can handle. And you're like, please, God, help me, I'm drowning. Yeah, sometimes life, circumstances give us way more than we can handle. In those moments, though, God's grace and mercy is enough. Just as much as you need, God's grace is in it with you. I will be what you need. So Paul lets go. Paul relents. He stops pleading with God. And he stops asking for God to take it away from him. After the 3rd time, Paul lets go. And he stops resisting and giving it energy. I think letting go is a spiritual practice. It should be anyway. Us stopping resisting and just letting it go. One great Franciscan priest says it this way: the art of letting go really is the way to heaven. Because when we fall down there to the bottom, we fall on solid ground, the great foundation. I am who I am, and for some unbelievable reason, that's what God has chosen to love about me, despite my weaknesses. Letting go is not the same as repressing it either, as being against it. You and I waste so much time and energy resisting things, being against things. And oftentimes it's a waste of time because it's beyond our control. We can't. And sometimes when we give so much energy to resisting it, it ends up making it worse anyway. And oftentimes those parts of us that we don't love, that we try to hide or resist or shun, It turns into self-loathing or some sort of self-hatred, which is not good. We often make it worse by just resisting and being against it, trying. There's this great cat poster, probably you've seen it. It says, when you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. Yes. Yes. I say, no, what if instead we just let go? And by let go, I don't mean like give up in like a nihilistic way, like forget it, I don't mean that. I mean, just let go and fall to the bottom. Find the grace of God and fall into the grace of God. Because the grace of God is enough. By the way, the fancy religious word for this is forgiveness. Forgiveness of yourself for not getting it right all the time, for not being enough, for not having all the checked boxes, for all the sins, the things that mire us. Forgiveness of others for not getting it right all the time. It's powerful. Seeing this thing, my weaknesses, and I just hand it over to God. I don't know. I can't fix it. And hearing God's response, my grace is enough. That same Franciscan priest says this, that we come to God, go ahead for me, Sarah, one more, by doing it, not by doing it right, but we come to God by doing it wrong. I love that. We come to God not by doing it right, but by doing it wrong. This is, of course, the message of the cross. The cross challenges our values. The world, the Corinthians, the super apostles, they value success and wealth and fame, but God values weakness. Are you kidding me? That's crazy talk. But God does. He values weaknesses because love and power of God are made known in weakness. Of course, the cross reveals somehow the glory of God. This ugly, horrific, tragic moment in our history is the moment of Jesus being gloriously exalted as king. How about that? The suffering, execution, and death of Jesus is the moment he's glorified as king. This is the glory of God revealed, and it's shameful. But this is the message of the cross. He dies a common slave that you and I might be exalted in this upside down way of doing things. Here's the bottom line. You and I, we all have weaknesses. We all have thorns. We've got them too, whether it's a sin, maybe it's a physical ailment like Paul's, maybe it's some kind of a gap, a negative tendency, a deficiency. Some of you, you're just not good, you're not enough. You can't figure it out. You begged and pleaded with God. Could be any number of things. Fine, I get it. Today, I want to invite you to let it go and fall into the grace of God. It's enough. I'm just telling you, it's enough.